What is going on, everyone? Today I thought I could do a bit of an off-the-cuff discussion around grading fanboys and the weird mentality that still seems to be quite persistent within the hobby about favoritism amongst graders. And, this train of thought is things I've talked to in the past, but it's one of those things that I really want to talk to off of the back of a video that Sports Card Radio did a week ago. I'll basically put some things on screen for you guys to understand what I'm referencing, but it happened to do with an interview. I think it was with Sports Card Madness, is the YouTube channel that allegedly interviewed a BGS grader and some of the accusations they made. And these accusations, in my opinion, seemed a bit baseless because it was based on rumor, and they were directly around the fact that BGS sort of has the ability to have people grade their own cards within their business. Now, that might be true, and that might be true at many other graders, but the way this whistleblower from BGS was talking about it just didn't fill me with a whole lot of confidence that he was actually a Beckett grader or that he actually knew what he was talking about. So me not discounting the fact of what he's saying could be true and it could be happening. The thing I want to focus in on is a lot of the discussion points that people raised, after seeing that video from Sports Card Radio, because people were basically crapping on Beckett. And I think it's, more than appropriate to crap on Beckett, as I've done many times on this channel. But there's some things that, I noticed among what people were pushing back on that I thought, was a little bit laughable, right? BGS have had significant issues, and I'm not trying to defend them in this instance because I've been very, very harsh of them, especially over the last 12 months, let alone the last 3 years. But the thing that has always really confused me, especially in recent days, like I said, is that people were pushing back on Beckett whilst praising the likes of PSA. And I think, the general consensus that people need to remember and keep front of mind is all these graders are literally as bad as each other, right? They all make the same amount of mistakes. It's all about choosing who you think is going to be the best one for whatever reason you want to grade in the first place. I've talked a lot in recent months about why I went ahead with CGC, as you can see on the shelf, with my, flawless soccer card PC. And the reason why I went with them because I thought they had the best guarantee. If something happens, they're going to protect me financially. And when I say something happens, I mean the card or the relics within that card get determined to be fake at a later date. Me being the person who submitted them, I would not be protected from a PSA perspective, but I obviously am from CGC. But, I don't look at my slab cards with, any, thought of security. And by that, I mean, I don't look at them and think, well, I'm safe, because I know that all these graders are literally as bad as each other. Whilst CGC have a strong guarantee, they might collapse and not be able to facilitate, giving me compensation for their mistake. But then when you look at, these comments around BGS and the whole, self-review perspective and all the black labels that apparently these people were getting, whilst there might be some substance to that, people are sort of talking Beckett down whilst also praising PSA. But PSA literally has just as many issues, if not more than Beckett. And when I say more, it's because they're grading so many more cards. So obviously they're going to make more mistakes and all that kind of thing. But it's just a bit odd. And it's just a reminder that I want to put back on everyone. There's not one company that is explicitly better than everybody else within this industry. And the same thing goes with manufacturers. You see Panini make mistakes, everybody clowns on them. They ignore the same mistakes that Topps is making. When it comes to backdoor cards, lost cards, duplicate cards, they're almost hand in hand. Topps has actually probably been a lot worse than Panini have been recently. But the hate goes to Panini, but not towards Topps. And it's this weird fanboyism that seems to be really prevalent these days within the hobby. Like, obviously, you're always going to get that. It goes into all other collectibles as well, with people preferring, CGC over CBCS from a grading of comic book perspective. You've got all these other, video game graders that people go and pick their favorites on, which is all well and good, but it's just, strange to me and surprising that people will push that fanboyism whilst wearing the blinkers and the blinders and ignore whatever their favorite company is doing itself. So again, I don't know if this video is making a whole lot of sense, but it's just a reminder that I want everyone to sort of, keep this front of mind. I think it's a bit silly to have to say that because I'm assuming most of you guys, or not assuming, I know most of you guys, have common sense. Just based on our interactions in the comments and all that kind of thing. But it's just wild how, like I said, people will shit on one company and then ignore the same mistakes that the other company that they're praising are doing. All these businesses in this industry are exactly the same. They all are as bad as each other, and it's a huge issue. And it's right. It's something that needs to be fixed because they're consistently making mistakes. They're not giving us the respect we deserve as customers. And we can see that by print runs and issues from grading and the poor options and the poor pricing. All this kind of stuff is pretty self-explanatory, as we've discussed, on the channel. So the mindset is don't let it affect you. Don't pick one as a favorite over the other. Be clinical with what it is you're trying to do. Like me with CGC, I went with them for a very specific reason. but at the same time, it's not foolproof. And it's also, back to things we've discussed in the past. You can sort of go with whoever you want as a grader, go with whoever you want as a manufacturer, buy what you want, buy from who, whatever, auction house, whatever. Just do it with the mindset and just keep front of mind that they might be your favorite, but they are still not as good as they could be. So you should be sharing feedback with them, and you should also be, preparing yourself to mitigate the risk as much as possible. And by that, I mean, when it comes to PSA, if you're somebody that is submitting your PC cards to PSA and you think them grading your card is going to protect you down the line if in fact they made a mistake, well, you're not protected. So the way you can best protect yourself is to do things like I do, fund my PC through the PC. So if all of a sudden I have a PC card that I paid a lot of money for, I send it to PSA, it's ends up being a fake card, and me thinking, well, it's in a PSA slab, you're going to look after me. Well, their guarantee doesn't apply to you as a submitter, as I've explained. Therefore, I can't go ahead and sell that card because they've like decertified it. As an example, you can crack it out and be dodgy if you want, but let's just assume you don't do that. All of a sudden, you've got a card that is probably worthless. But if you sort of approach your collection like I do, you've now got that card and you've already paid for it because you've already sold things to pay for that card in the first place. And that was a really complicated way for me to explain what it is I do. But like I've said before, I buy cards for my PC. I typically keep it funded through profits from sales of other cards. And, that often means it takes me a long time to buy what it is I want because I have to buy cards to sell specifically to build up that pot of funds that are going to be used to buy other cards. And yes, I am rambling quite a lot. So again, I do apologize, but just keep that sort of stuff front of mind. Like just seeing that Beckett interview and the way people responded, caught me off guard a little bit that there's still that sort of blind love for businesses within this hobby. They are all as bad as each other. And that does not mean the hobby is not fun and you can't participate or anything like that. They're all as bad as each other, but you just need to take the onus on yourself to best protect yourself. And it is to do that stuff that I just explained. Be aware of what these graders actually protect you with. Be aware what these manufacturers are doing. Be aware what they're charging you. Be aware, of how you can sort of prevent some of these risks. Like I said, flip cards, pay for it with profits, all that kind of thing. Just be aware of with this stuff. Keep it front of mind and you'll be fine. But just don't let this favoritism blind, your, opportunities to have fun within this hobby, because I think some people do. And I think there's ways to get around it. All these companies are as bad as each other. I'll say it again, but you can still have fun. Don't let it affect you. This was a complete off-the-cuff rant. I didn't prep what I was going to talk to. I never really do. I always just sit in front of the camera and talk. It takes me, a few minutes to prep, but, it is what it is. I'm rambling. Thanks for watching, guys. Let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know if you think what I just said makes sense, because just seeing all these commentary everywhere, and it's just like, what the heck is going on? They're all as bad as each other, guys. You should know that by now. Doesn't mean the hobby's bad, but it just means you need to keep that front of mind. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.